Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. We continue with our recitation from Rag Sorat Mahalla Panjwa, compositions of the fifth Nanak, Guru Arjan. The recitation. Sorat Mahalla Panjwa, Ratan Kaudi sang Lage, जाते कछ न पाइयै पूरन पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर मेरे मन सदा ध्याई है. So Ratan chard, forsaking what is precious. Kaudi sang Lage, to collect empty shells. Jate kachu na paiye, it brings no value whatsoever. Puran par brahm parameswar mere man sada tyaiye, O my mind, dwell on, contemplate on the perfect supreme being, the ground of all being. That's the message. So essentially what is being said is, trading diamonds for pennies and chasing shadows that promise but don't deliver is not good strategy, especially while there is an infinite treasure that waits within. So the Guru is actually exposing our very pervasive behavior, our tendency to pursue instant gratification at the cost of lasting fulfillment. We seek fulfillment in temporary things, neglecting the source. So Guruji is invoking eudaimonic well-being, happiness that emerges from meaning and transcendence rather than from pleasure-seeking. Only then can you create a sustainable life of satisfaction and well-being that is independent of external circumstances. So that is the advice. The invocation to dwell on Sadatya, Ye Puran Par, indicates that one's consciousness must transform through the integration of the unconscious contents that we are not aware of, because that is what drives our behavior. And we are not aware of the narrative or the stories that are actually driving us. So we have to really dig deep into our consciousness and integrate everything that is there, and then become one with that Puran Par Brahm Parameswar. It is that transcendent space which contains and unifies everything. That's where we need to go. The reflection essentially strengthens this point. Simro har har naam prani, bin se kachi de agyani rahao. Simro har har naam prani. Wisdom. Remember, Simro, be mindful of wisdom. And the body is fragile, meaning it is unripe. The unripe body is a caution that we are missing the opportunity to live an authentic life. It also suggests that the body is incomplete without the awareness of the self, because the self is using the body as a transitional vehicle for conscious evolution, consciousness rather. So it is our consciousness that has to evolve. It needs the body. The body is transient, so you're losing time, essentially. So get with it. Mrig trisna ar supana manorath taki kachu na vadiyai, Ram bhajan bin kamana avas sangana ka hujai. The same message. Mrig trisna. Desires, worldly desires, are like a mirage that fool the deer. And they have no real worth because they come and go. Without devotion to the divine, meaning without devotion to that consciousness, nothing is of use. is not of value, in other words. So the mirage is the mind's tendency to see what it wants to rather than what exists. So the brain is constructing its reality on expectations rather than direct perception. How karat bihaye avarda ji ko kamna kina धावत धावत नेत्र पतासया राम नाम नहीं चीना. How karat, being lost in this I want, I need, I must have, this whole ego business, a lifetime passes away. And you haven't even moved the soul at all, your consciousness at all. You're still living in that egoic consciousness. That's your endless mantra is I, and I. And that is how lifetimes are wasted. Because if you recall, the consciousness is seeking to evolve. It has to evolve through the vehicle of the body. The body is transient, so it has to keep looking for bodies, if you see the picture. Now, this is not suggesting that you are coming back as the ego that you were created, but these egos get created for the self because it is on a journey. So essentially, the fundamental delusion here is that of the I, the ego I. That is what creates the problem, and we need to transcend it. Sad bikar bikhe ras mato asankh khate kar fere nanak ki prabh pahe benanti kato avgan mere. Drunk on poison. Sad bikar bikhe. Poison is tasting like honey to you. Rasamato. Rasamato is like nectar to you. Asank khate kari fere. You're stumbling through the same mistakes over and over again. That's the repetition of avana javana. You cannot transcend your conditioned ego. You just can't get over it. You're telling yourself the same stories over and over and over again. You can't break through that loop. Nanak ki prabh bahe benanti kato avgun mere. So this is a prayer. So we have to realize that as the Guru is walking us through these psychological dysfunctioning self that we are as an ego, he is also giving us the cure. And the cure, as we saw it in the previous sabad, was not necessarily any specific mental process, although there's nothing to say that you can't do that. The idea is that your body and your mental processes should come into sync. The body becomes the point, because you're living 24/7. You just can't chant a mantra for 24 hours. So saas giras that you have to do is essentially tied to the body as well in all of your actions. So basically, it is like a therapeutic program called self-surrender. And that transformation begins with acknowledging powerlessness over destructive patterns. And that is what the Guru is doing here. Nanak ki prabh pahe benati kato avgud mere. There is a recognition, not a denial. There is a recognition. And that process of prayer, of contemplation, of reflection, mindfulness will in fact replace negativity and bring you to that ground of well-being called Puran Parmesar, Par Brahm Parmesar. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.